right. And we welcome you in to a wow, pretty interesting pretty interesting week here of catching up with Coach. I am your solo co-host for the night, and we have a lot to talk about. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not really entirely sure that not really entirely sure that you all are ready for the kind of discussion that we're gonna have, seeing as though I have been spending far too much time on the social media end of town, and I think I might have some agreeing points, but I also might have some. I think it might be fair to say some maybe different ways of thinking about it than what I've seen on social media. So just bear with me. We're all on the same team here. But I would like to welcome you in to obviously a dazzlingly, incredibly, just making sure that we're good on the stream here. We are good. Week 3 edition of Catching Up with Coach. Now, I'm just going to let a couple more of you filter in while we kind of set the stage here. Obviously, quite a bit to talk about, but we're certainly going to try to condense it down from last week just a little bit, just because I do think that there's, I mean, it was Louisiana Tech, but there are some takeaways that I want to talk about, and then getting into a Florida home game is certainly nothing that we need to, speed over. But again, coming off a win with, Clemson, obviously there was a lot of things that we wanted to talk about. There was a lot of things that we really didn't expect to be talking about. And honestly, some of those same sentiments are happening here as we get prepared for a week 3. I'm definitely not going to bury the lead too much, but I do just want to at least say uh, it's not time to panic. It's not time to panic. If you're an LSU fan, I know obviously this is an LSU centric podcast. I certainly do try to touch the branches of the nation tree as it were. But the most views we've ever gotten on a Catching Up with Coach episode, and they're steadily growing up. So we're incredibly excited about that. We've literally doubled and then tripled in back-to-back weeks. So thank you all for that. Thank you for the support. Obviously, give us a little thumbs up and a like if you've got a Google account, if you don't mind. It certainly helps us to get into your algorithm. And, unlike, the phone companies that hear you talking about things in your spare time with your friends and the algorithm happens that way, we actually need interaction in order to get into your algorithm. So, and it's just actually funny that I bring that up on the day that Apple had like their big event today where they were talking about the new phones coming out, and interesting. Interesting to say the least. But again, you didn't come here to listen to me talk about cell phones and new technology. You came here to talk about college football and most importantly the one up I-10 that plays here in Baton Rouge. So what did we get right? What did we get wrong? What did we learn, and what can we do before the game? So let's take those in order. What did we get right? You obviously had about what we thought as far as energy is concerned. It didn't feel like you were flat. It kind of felt like the game never really got going. I mean, it kind of felt as though you were just waiting to pull away. You were waiting for the big pop play. You were waiting for um, for Garrett to kind of throw it over the top. And I know that was a really big talking point on social media. There's a lot of people pissed off that we're not throwing the ball enough, down the field. And I certainly don't disagree with that. But I would at least like to play devil's advocate and suggest that you literally tried to do that the first play of the game, okay? And you throw the ball to Barry and Brown, who again, if you're gonna throw the ball deep, and anyone that's gonna find a gap, it's likely gonna be someone like him, Chris Hilton. We'll get to him here in just a minute. But you tried to do it the first play of the game, and Garrett didn't get enough mustard on it, and it gets picked off. So you can't say they're not throwing the ball deep. Well, they did, and he got it picked off. So I will say I will say that there is not a missed emphasis as it relates to throwing the ball down the field whenever you're not going to put enough oomph on the ball. And if you're not going to care about throwing the ball down the field, then why should Joe Sloan continue to call the plays? Because you clearly showed lackluster effort on throwing the ball. Now, obviously, whenever he puts the headset on or goes to the phone booth or whatever and talks to the entire offense. I mean, there's always been scuttle that there's, more than one thing that can get said in those little conversations when the quarterbacks come off the field. But Joe Sloan's picking up the phone and going, "Hey, dude, what the hell?" Like, we literally drew this up. We almost did. You almost didn't even need to script, 10, 12 plays. You just scripted that one. Berrien's going to be open. He's going to be open down the sideline, and we're going to hit him. And he had a touchdown, and it was it was a touchdown and then some. And it was not one that you shouldn't have seen coming. It's just, and shout out to my boy Kevin Kelly here for the Barry on. We really appreciate that transfer, homeboy. It's from what Twitter's saying, it seems like it costed us about 600 bands for him. And you're definitely getting your 600 bands out of him because you're throwing the crap out of the ball to him. The other one they spent 600 bands for was Nick Anderson. So in the conversation of talking deep, where's the Nick Anderson at? And again, I know you're 2 games in, so I'm trying not to get over the over my skis here, but I have yet, and again, I understand that he caught a touchdown, but I have yet to see them force the ball to Nick Anderson in the red zone. I mean, you threw it, you went over him to throw it to Kyle Parker in the end zone when Nick Anderson had nobody on him, and he's the bigger body by 25 pounds and probably 3 to 5 inches. I mean, the dude is leaps and bounds a better red zone target than Kyle Parker. And that's not to say that Kyle Parker's not a great target. Kyle Parker is an incredibly good gadget receiver from what we've seen. Now, again, he was injured right whenever he started to come on, really, and we haven't really been able to see a lot of him since. He's fast, he gets in and out of his cuts quick. He's a Louisiana guy. Clearly, he's got the juice. But when you're going to go and spend over $500,000 on a receiver, can I please see a little bit of investment in the red zone? Because you suck there, right? Like, it is difficult. It is difficult for me to feel bad for you. And then whenever we get to the press conference, and you're meeting me with the, we've got to be better here, we've got to be better there, and that's 100% true. And you do want to hear your coach say that. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm saying that, in a rude manner, or that BK saying that in jest. That is true, but you have to give them a reason to want to play hard for you. So if Cortez Hankton can't get you to understand the plays, and you don't get to play. And so if that's the reason why we're not seeing Chris Hilton, then Jesus, bro. I mean, you've been here since the Reagan administration. Like, at some point, we would think that you would know the plays. And now, again, you ended the year by doing nothing but throwing the ball over the top to Chris Hilton. So it seems as though there's a different disconnect there. I have a very difficult time believing that Chris Hilton doesn't know all the plays. Maybe he doesn't know some of these run plays that you're installing. We're going to get to that here in a second. But the one thing that I do want to say, so we've talked about Nick Anderson getting involved in the red zone because you clearly need help in the red zone in any way that you possibly can. Trey Green not playing this week, likely, from what I understand, is more than likely not going to play. That is not scuttlebutt. That is not word. That is medical history with MCL sprains. He is likely not going to play. Give me the next biggest guy. Go and give me Nick Anderson. Let him play. Let him play the Trey Green role if you need to. And again, the one thing I want to say is Xavier Thomas. First of all, Xavier Thomas is an electric guy. He obviously he's more than good and capable at more than one thing, which is a great thing to have. There's a really, 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 really successful football coach that told me to my face, if you have one guy that's pretty good at 3 or 4 things on either side of the football, you're lucky. If you've got 2, you're incredibly lucky. If you've got 3, you're obviously recruiting in the right way. You have someone that can do that on both sides of the football with Harold Perkins and Xavier Thomas. Xavier can run. Xavier can catch. Xavier can block. Xavier can get into space. He can return. There's a lot of things that he can do. The other one is Harold Perkins. I want to make the argument that you do have somebody else that could be giving you a little bit more than what you're getting. And I do think that person is Chris Hilton. The reason for that is I do not think that Xavier Thomas should be lining up in the X for the majority of his snaps. And again, I understand, and other platforms have talked about this. I'm not saying new information. I'm hearing it be said, and I'm bringing it up because it's what we're saying in the stands that I pay money for to go and watch the games. He's lining up in the X so that he can be put in motion to do some of these little gadget run plays. The problem is that it worked in week 1 because it was a wrinkle, but they now know that it's going to happen. Like Tech knew it was going to happen. Coach Cumbie literally said that in the press conference, in the halftime interview. So they know that you're going to run it. You're becoming predictable. So my thing is, and Kev, if you're still in here, please let me know if you remember this ever being a thing with Kentucky. Was there ever a time in which you guys had one of those? Because I want to say y'all did, and I can't for the life of me I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he ended up going to Tennessee, and I loved him when he came out, and I can't remember his name, but he went to Tennessee, and he was a big body, not quite like a Debo. They didn't run him like that, but he could do a lot. If you're going to run the ball with Xavier Thomas, take a page out of the Clemson book and just put the sucker in the backfield. Like if you're getting everything that you want from Caden Durham and you want to give him some reps and you're afraid of Harlem Berry not knowing how to block, which again, he showed you he can obviously get loose and get into space, and he's obviously got the breakaway speed. Why not give Xavier Thomas literally handoffs from running back? Jamar Chase did. Why can't Xavier Thomas? Like, why do we need to use a receiver that isn't going to go into the field to play instead of maybe just giving Xavier Thomas the ability? Because Xavier's ability to use his vision to get open with what he is presented with is what makes him so good. It's not because he's faster than Caden Durham. It's not because he may be, but I don't Caden was a track guy. It's not because he's faster. It's not because he's bigger. It's not because he's a better running back. He's got incredible vision. That's why he's a kickoff and punt return guy. So put that in the backfield. You already know that you struggle with that with Caleb a bit. I also think that Caleb's not getting his fair end of it because you're trying to run, outside zone with him, which again, if we can get time here, 14 minutes in to talk about why you shouldn't run outside zone the way that you're running it, we will. But my discontent is if you want to get him the ball with being in the backfield. Now, if you just don't think that he could do that because you've tried it and I haven't seen much footage of this with, summer or the spring, and he wasn't able to do that out of the backfield and you need the wrinkle play, then okay, then you need to pull back a little bit on what exactly you're asking your offensive line to do. Because if you can't run outside, as a matter of fact, I I know a lot of you don't want to go and watch other games. I know we all have, some of you have kids, lives, things to do. Like I know the last thing y'all are going to want to do is go on YouTube and watch old Texas running plays. But go back last year and even really this year and see what Texas does when they run zone and counter. Like go and look at what it's supposed to look like and just see because there is clearly a disconnect with what Brad Davis is trying to tell them what to do and what the offensive line is doing. And so shout out to you, Bo, for the let's go, because that's kind of how I feel about Brad Davis right now. Like, let's go. Like, what are we waiting for? Like, you can recruit and get the talent here, brother. Where is the instruction? Like, and I'm not saying he can't do it. Clearly, again, I am in medical sales. I did not go to the league in anything for football. I've watched enough of it and played enough of it and been around enough of it to know a couple of things that aren't supposed to happen. And the couple of things that you're really not supposed to do as it relates to running the football well is what I see more often than not with LSU last year and this year. And Jaden hid a lot of that. You know what I mean? So You're now not able to do that. And so to catch you up, T, and thank you for being here. To catch you up really, really quick, we're talking about the LSU run game. Xavier Thomas, maybe asking him to be lined up in the backfield if you're going to give him the ball. I think you're kind of forcing the thing a little bit to the playmakers that you spent a lot of money on in NIL, and that's fine when it's Barry and Brown. But Nick Anderson needs some red zone targets. He caught a touchdown for you. You're not going to have Trey'Dez Green. Let him play that role because he's big. And LSU can't run counter or outside zone well. And we're about to get into why. Did I do a good job? There is a disconnect with Brad Davis recruiting 4 and 5 star talent and then them not knowing how to run the football or block such that you can run the football. But you know what's different is that I also noticed a couple of other things too. I started to notice that every time we get upset about these things, like every time we get upset, that's whenever you'll see the pass over the top. And this was last year, whenever you would get upset, can't run, short pass, can't run, short pass, medium pass, can't run. And then they would go, I'm done. And then they just wouldn't run the ball at all. And then you're just going to, and you're asking Garrett to go and be Superman. And that can work in a game like Ole Miss, where they shot themselves in the foot on their side of the 50 several times and just refused to take points, which you also don't like to do. But so it can work there, and Garrett can be your Superman and have a 4th down touchdown to Aaron Anderson with one of the most beautiful throws we've ever seen. Anticipatory, accuracy, everything. That can't work full season. It can't. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Now, he's very good. He's got arm talent, but it can't work on a full game. You can't put a 12 game, and if you want to play more than that, a 13, 14, 15 game schedule on one arm of Garrett Nussmeier. You can't do it. You have to be able to run the football. So I know what you're asking yourselves 19 minutes in. So we've literally complained about it for now half that time. Can't run the football. What can you do? Okay. My suggestion is stop lining up and in predictable formations. So if you're going to run zone, if you're going to run to the outside of the formation, even if it's not zone, and if you're going to run out of the gun, maybe, just maybe, we should run it to the side that you aren't struggling as much with. Now, before you had the center injury situation, you still didn't run it great against Clemson, but Braylon Moore was at least getting to the second level and providing a push. You now have DJ Chester there because Braylon Moore is dealing with an ankle injury, and that's a big fella on an ankle. It's not really the best combination for people. I'm not really sure if y'all are aware, but in the event that you ever turned an ankle in your life, it's incredibly painful. He got it turned by the body weight of another large human, so it hurts like double times that much. So if he plays this week, and it's because he got a shot and some smelling salts, which I think is illegal in the NCAA now, because what else could they possibly take away from us other than smelling salts at this point? But and for those of you wondering, that's coffee, by the way, because I just walked in the door from work about a half hour ago, and I'm right into it because I'm like that. Braylon Moore's going to need a lot of coffee if he's going to play this weekend against Florida, and you need him. And I don't think you're going to get him. I think you're going to get DJ Chester again. So what can you do? I think you're going to have to throw the screen. What else are you going to do? Like what the hell else can you do? Like if you can't prevent pressure up the middle, which is the biggest no-no in running anything, then you must involve the screen game. Get him out in space, because the pass pro from DJ Chester is like freaking 20 points better than run. So if he's a good in pass pro, I mean, maybe you throw the ball more than you want to. Maybe you go more to like 55-45, 56-44 type situation. You definitely don't go 50-50 if you can't run the ball, especially if Caleb Banks plays, who, if you guys don't know who Caleb Banks is, I would advise you to get on YouTube and go and type in Caleb Banks 2024 highlights from the Florida Gators. Big Dog is a lockdown first-round type talent defensive tackle. And you better hope, if you're an LSU fan, that homeboy does not play. Now, he's dealt with some injury issues. We will see. there's kind of some leery behavior as it relates um to Billy Napier for letting us know whether or not Caleb Banks is gonna play. But brother, listen, if Caleb Banks is playing and he's playing on the nose right up on DJ Chester, I that's going to be a long night for brother DJ unless he decides to put on a welder's cap underneath that football helmet and get to work. Cuz you feel me? Like I'm talking about like don't wash your hands for 2-3 days, and I need a welder's cap. I need like 2 Red Bulls, and we're like shotgunning them, and we're not shaving chest hair the rest of the week. I'm talking about like we're dirty, nasty. I'm talking about like rub some sneeze on your face, bro. I need you gross to get up in Caleb Banks' face. Anything to just get him off of you and or get him the other way. Make him gross him out. Don't spit in his face. I almost said spit in his face, but my NFL football team did that, and now he's suspended for a game and owes $500,000. So don't do that. Which, by the way, if the NFL is going to suspend players for spitting in the face, does that mean that the kid that did it from Florida is going to get suspended? Just my thoughts. But again, you're going to have to get the screen game involved. You're going to have to get these backs out in space. Get Xavier Thomas out in space. The next thing you're going to have to do is you have to get Chris Hilton the ball. I'm sorry. I can't. I cannot go further in this episode without talking about Chris Hilton. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Listen, for no other reason, I'm sweating right now. So stay with me. For no other reason should you get Chris Hilton involved, and the fact that the kid has stuck true to you, the fact that he's a SWAT leader, that's what Brian Kelly calls his people that are like team leaders. They run the groups and stretches and whatnot. We may be better off if Chester gets thrown out play one. I don't think that that's accurate, big homie. I know that it is funny. It's very terrifying. I assure you that you will not be. Because your next best lineman is Carius Kern for all intents and purposes from what we've been able to see, and he does not play center. I assure you, you need DJ Chester to play center. Now, maybe you put Kern at guard, please, and see what he can give you in the run game. Because I do think that Josh Thompson can and Braylon Moore can give you enough, and Josh Thompson can maybe give you something. So if your guard and your guards and your center can run block, then maybe your tackles can come along, which we think that the tackles are maybe some of the more high upside talent on the offensive line. Then all of a sudden we're cooking with Crisco. You feel me? But you're not going to have your center. And I don't think they're putting Carius Kern at guard. I don't think. I don't. But again, you have to give Garrett enough time in pass pro to throw the football down the field, and it has to go to Chris Hilton at least a handful of times. I know that he scrambled out of the pocket and tried to hit Chris in the back of the end zone, but dude, he was covered up in front of him. He had to do like a jump out in front of him to even get it. And Garrett had, a CVS receipts length of yard and time to run for it. I mean, he had literally him, a chasm, and then the gates with St. Peter at the front, and then the end zone. Like, he had all day to run the ball and refused to do it. Stared Chris Hilton down for 15 yards running the other way into the student section and tried to get it to him in a touchdown. Now, I am all with you on you trying to get your homeboy a touchdown. But brother, please just go and get the first down, and let's get some more plays. Like, what better way to work on things in game than get in the red zone and work on the red zone? But no, let's just throw the ball from 40 yards out and then settle for a field goal. It's the little stuff sometimes. And I don't think that that's a every game thing for Garrett. I think that is a tech thing, because we know that he can get locked in, and when he's locked in, he's cooking, and he's cooking with an apron on, and smoke's coming and flames are going. Like, when Garrett cooks, he cooks. But if he's not completely locked in, he's not into the opponent, then I don't know what else to say. But I swear that to all that's good and Christian, the ball has to go to Chris Hilton. Please throw it to him over the top. Please, because you have literally given every team like Florida doesn't respect you to throw it. I mean, they may if they go back and look at the tape, but you ended the year doing that. Baylor, Oklahoma, yeah, 2 years, a few years ago, whenever he came into the Texas Bowl, when you had like 13 and three-quarter players available to play, last play of the game, Chris Hilton, like that's what he does. That's what he does. He's stuck around through thick and thin. He's battled the injuries. The kid's done everything the right way. He has a jumping problem, as we've seen in previous times, but it feels like the time is now. Like if you're saving these plays for Florida, then okay. Like then I obviously don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And y'all obviously feel confident enough to win the first two games without having to throw the ball deep to him. But okay. But can we see it, please? Please? It's time. It's time. Okay. So let's let's settle that. Again, it's not time to panic on the offense. This can be made better. Your defense is still doing its thing, and we will end the show on the defensive side of the ball, believe me. But we've got to let's go. Okay. Don't want to go any further. Don't want to go any further without talking about this incredible hat from Web Western, guys. WEBB Western. Incredibly excited to have a personal sponsorship with these guys. Kind of waiting to get some things fixed as it relates to them maybe sponsoring the show. We'll certainly kind of go over that as the weeks go on. But in case you guys wanted to get into some little rain repellent hats, DM me, get you a code there to get you a little discount. You can follow them on Instagram. You can find them in my Instagram. Super excited to have their gear. I love this one. This is the little white camo. I would love a black one. A black camo would be sick. And the straight shooter duck hat is really well fitting. You can't sweat through these things. I've tried. I've worn them to the gym for a few weeks. These things are incredibly made. Really excited to have their gear. And super excited to have them on. Just a shameless plug. Moving on. So quickly, what does Florida bring as it relates to, how afraid should you be of this game? The answer is very. I know it's 9.5. Kev, can you check that? Can you confirm 9.5? I think it was 9.5. As soon as it came out, it may have gone up to 10. And for those of you, that do bet, we are not married to one sports bet. I know Kev is certainly not going to use one of those sports books, which we will not name because we are not affiliated with them to be able to do so. But I think 9.5 is kind of a lot. I know they just lost to South Florida, but there's something that makes me feel that South Florida can actually be pretty good in their conference. Again, 18-16 loss at home. Like if you maybe played South Florida and didn't care, like some of these plays that I've watched, as as if you played like that against South Florida, it's incredibly reasonable to suggest that you might also lose. Okay, so we have that confirmed. That the line has moved to 7.5 points across the board. I think that's a little bit better. I'd still take a look at that if you're leery and you want to win no matter what. Maybe put a few bucks on the spread, and then if your team wins, you don't care about the money anyway. But again, Florida does a lot that could give you problems. One of which is again having an incredible force in the middle of their defense. I do think that they want to think that they can guard you. They really want to think that they can play man. They don't want to have to go into a zone and have two covering the top, but they will if they have to, because they can get pressure with four, especially on this offensive line. So if they're going to blitz and they're going to take advantage of your weakness, which right now is your offensive line, then you have to be prepared to do things the right way, which is get the ball out quick. And it feels like this might be a Clemson game plan. So I'm saying that we need to see the ball get thrown over the top with Chris Hilton. Well, you did see that in the Clemson game with Barry and Brown, and you were rewarded with one of the worst no calls that I've seen in college football with the touchdown that was for naught. So again, you're going to see a lot of short things, a lot of dink dunk, like your ability to get the ball out quickly before your offensive line probably dealing with injuries, is going to be imperative for you, I think. And so if you can successfully get the ball out quick and get your playmakers in space and convert on obvious second and third downs, and I think you'll be fine. And if you can just get 7 instead of 3 in the red zone, I do think that you're fine. The reason why I feel that way, and that's why the keys to victory for this week are kind of brief, is because I do think that you do have an ace in the hole with this defense. This defense is nasty. This defense is absolutely nasty. So whenever you think about DJ Lagway, who did give you fits last year, who has not run as much as we've seen since he's become, the everyday starter. He, really did a lot of that in his backup roles. Before Homeboy got hurt. Now that he's the starter, you really hadn't seen that much. I bet you they're going to design some stuff for him this week. It feels like Florida knows and at this point probably respects that you've got a defense, but that's not going to stop him from trying. And I'm telling you, DJ Pickett's going to get thrown at, especially because I think if they watch their film, they'll see that Mansour Delane is like that, and they're not going to want to, they're not gonna be dumb unless they are. They're not gonna want to be dumb enough to try that man all night long. So I do think that whoever's on the other side, whether it's DJ, PJ, we even saw a little bit of a Jakeem and Ashton Stamp sighting. They're gonna throw at anybody that's not him. I do think that you're gonna have to play a very similar game to Clemson. Get the ball out in space, convert on downs, try to get points, limit mistakes, and play good defense, and get out of here with a hard fought nasty win and move on to obviously another La Tech type game with Southeastern, who funnily enough played each other before they played you, and before you get to South Carolina. It's just like that, y'all. I mean, I really don't think this needs to be made that difficult. So again, get the ball out in space, whether that's to Barry and Brown, Aaron Anderson. I know we talked about this till we're blue in the face about the Barry and Brown thing. We've been talking about him since the freaking summer. Get him the ball in space, please. Chris Hilton over the top once or twice. Let Nick Anderson play that role. All that kind of plays into the red zone, because I do think that the red zone is going to be important. So playmakers out in space, 7 and not 3. Limit the mistakes. The first play from downs pick, it can't happen. And just play solid defense the way that you've obviously been playing it. And I think that you will be able to win this football game if you do those things. If you do not do those things, Florida is absolutely going to cover, and Florida absolutely can ruin your day and beat you. They absolutely can. They're wounded. They're 1-1. Their coach is yet again on the hot seat. I don't know that he ever left the hot seat, but he kind of cooled it off a bit. So you're going to get a desperate effort from a college football team that has every reason with their back against the wall to want to beat you, and they can. So what are you going to do about it? And I don't want you to think as though I'm trying to paint this pessimistically, but if you don't have your best game offensively and your defense isn't lights out, you're in a very vulnerable spot, and you can't rely on the defense the entire season. The offense must pull its own weight. It must. It absolutely must. And we'll see if they can do it this week. Before we get out of here, 35 minutes in, I did want to just say yet again, thank you for all those that are supporting us. Please go and give us some love out in the People Street. Send it to those. Look, if you've got like a really interested, uncle, friend, aunt, husband, wife, whatever the case may be, the views are rising, man. We're super, super excited about that. Russo's certainly been a huge part in advocating for me to have this platform to be able to do this. And so it certainly wouldn't be made possible without him. He does a lot behind the scenes that certainly go unnoticed, but they don't get missed by me. And so we certainly love him for that. But please continue to give us some love, give us some feedback. If you've got my number, hit me up. If you're not from around here and this is the first time you've ever viewed our channel, welcome in. Please continue to watch and give us your thoughts. As the season goes, we will get into some of these other teams, like a big win for Mississippi State. I actually have a segment on that coming for the Thursday show this week. I'm incredibly excited to talk about how wrong I might have been on Mississippi State. I've got actually a really, really good friend of mine, that is a State fan. And I know they'd be incredibly jacked to have a little Mississippi State segment on the show. And we want to be able to incorporate that on the on the Russo and Goodwin show. But as it relates to catching up with Coach, we kind of want to keep it close to the crib, and then maybe talk about some of the teams as we see them and as they might relate to your schedule, going on later down during the season. So that's kind of just a rundown of how we want to operate it, how we want to work it as it stands right now. But again, thank you guys thank you for the viewership. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. It is almost 7:30, and I certainly need to get myself prepared emotionally for what's going to be a stressful week. We're all wondering whether or not this game's going to go the way that we want. I will certainly be there on campus. So if y'all are going to be out there, hit your boy up. I will be hydrated, as the people might say, and incredibly excited, man. Because listen, the last thing I want to say is you only have so many chances in life, and I'm glad that a few of you stuck around to hear this point. You only have so many chances in life, especially as a college athlete, but as a fan, to witness something truly, truly special. And that's what we think college football is. That is how I feel about college football. College football, and some of my best and most important memories of my personal life and my family's life have come from watching college football. And so for you to have this opportunity as a player to go out there with some respect. This is a team that hates you. You hate them. This is not Louisiana Tech. This is the Florida Gators. This is the South Carolina Gamecocks, the Alabama Crimson Tide. These are small windows in life to have your name and your effort etched in history. Go out and take advantage of it. There's no time for you to be worrying about, what someone's going to say about you after the game, how someone's going to judge that play that you look dumb on. It's play the next play. Like it's so aggravating whenever we play these in-state schools, whether it's LSU or Michigan or Bama or Florida or Texas or whoever, and these lackluster efforts are here, man. That's why I'm so freaking sick of these little tiny. I dropped my pen, damn it. These little tiny insignificant games where you pay a team over $1 million to come and get their butt whooped, and then you help pay for their new athletic facility. Like, it's great for those schools, and that's awesome. But like, as a fan, you want to see these games. This is the game. It started week 1, and it's coming to your crib. Be all that you can be today. Take in an extra 20 minutes of film. Ask your coach. Let's go over that one more time, coach. I don't know that I fully know what to do, but in the event that I get hurt, I want to know how to explain it to my buddy, because he might be too my backup. He might be too nervous to come and ask you. Like, do anything. That's what it takes. That's what the 2019 team did for LSU. That's what the 2020 COVID team did for Alabama. Hell, that's what the 2-loss team that won the whole damn thing last year, Ohio State, did. They looked at themselves in the mirror, realized that there really is no tomorrow, and you have to play right now, today, our best ball. Can you do it? Can you get a push? Can you take all the crap that you've heard about what everyone said about you not being able to run the football? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to be about that action, or are you going to continue to do the same thing that we've been seeing, which is, frankly, play soft at times? Show that you can. We know you can do it. We know that you can do it. LSU fans, Florida fans alike. I assure you, we all know. So go and do it. That's all I wanted to say. And if there's anybody that disagrees with that, then you're certainly entitled to your opinion. But I challenge everyone in their own personal life not to get on my soapbox. So I'm going to jump off real quick, but in your own life, in your own job, in your own family, be all that you can be every single minute for someone else's benefit, and do everything that you can possibly do in that moment to try to affect something in a positive manner. In this instance, you're a football player, so let's positively affect the run game. I'm literally begging you. Please. Please. And that's really the last little bit that I wanted to say. So went a little bit longer than I wanted to there. I wanted to cap it at 35, went on to 41 because I'm a little bit extra caffeinated and wanted to make a point. Sorry. Love you guys. Thank you all for your support. Incredibly excited to be here, and I can't wait to continue this on with the Thursday conversation. I know Russo is incredibly excited about it too. And that's all for us. Love you. Stay tuned. Give us a like and comment. Appreciate it.